Welcome to Scrolling to Death. Today, I'm joined by Superintendent Dr. Mike Swan of the Burke County Public Schools in North Carolina. Hi, Dr. Swan. How are you?
I'm great. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I'm really excited to have this conversation. I have to say, parents all over the country were very excited to see the new resolution that your district rolled out this year. And you're piloting a low-tech approach. So I wonder if you can just start by telling listeners what's included in the resolution. And I am going to link to the full resolution text, but so if you just want to summarize, that'd be great.
Great. Fantastic. So myself, of course, I'm a parent of two. One graduated the Burke County Public School system pre-COVID, so we didn't face the technology struggles that my 10-year-old was dealing with 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. So as a superintendent, I saw firsthand what it was doing to students at school, and then when they're coming home, when we got face-to-face with back full-time learning, just some of the lack of fine motor skills that we're seeing in our younger students. So myself and some other district leaders and Chair Beachler, Tiana Beachler, our board chair, we began processing last year just what are some things that we could do as a district. So we began as a district leadership team with our academic directors talking about some ways that we could push back on technology. Tiana and Jamie Wyckoff, our vice chair, came to me and said, "Hey, what about a resolution to kind of kickstart it?" And I said, "Absolutely." So myself and a few other directors and those two sat around the table and we started spitballing some ideas of what a resolution would look like. We didn't want to go into more of a policy. Sometimes policy ties your hands as an educator. So we wanted to make sure that this was an organic conversation amongst us as parents and us as district leaders, so that would blend wonderfully into the classroom. As myself, I was a classroom teacher for several years before becoming an administrator. So I saw that firsthand, some things that we were losing that I saw during post-COVID with the technology. And the biggest thing that we're doing right now, this is what I would consider our model year, our baseline year. We're not going to have all the answers right now we're going to actually present and I'd be happy to share back with you in December, January. We're going to present kind of a mid-year where we are today with balanced technology within Burke County. Our curriculum coaches are on board, our teachers, and what we really had to focus on is some of our new teachers coming out of an institution at 24 years old where they were taught online. So it's new to them, where we're going in as our veteran instructional coaches are going in and saying, okay, there's a different approach. Use that technology if you want to do a whole class assessment and find a baseline on where they are, rather than a pencil and a paper assessment. It's a quick, real time, where you are, where I need to take you, rather than taking a test, going home, grading it, pen and paper, and getting back those results. So in our K-5, we've pushed back on sending the devices home. That was another big one that I noticed. Here again, a young lady coming home with a backpack, and I pick it up off of her back, and it's so heavy. As a dad, I'm saying, my goodness, we're sending a 15-pound, 10-pound device home on a kid's back every day. So that's one big push that parents were happy to see. They plug them in at the end of the day and they're there when they get them. And we do have some inclement weather days here that we've accommodated for when it comes to remote technology. In the state of North Carolina, we get 10 remote days. So we will still use remote days and just use some of that technology in a folder that we've already sent home in our class dojo or our parent newsletters on things that they'll be doing in the event of inclement weather. Last year, we were out of school nearly 2 weeks with a hurricane. So we were able to take advantage of technology at that time once Wi-Fi got up and running. A major thing that our administrators are looking for is within the classroom is the technology utilized the appropriate way. We have a walkthrough device as we're going in to do a snapshot observation on our teachers. I got to see, as a superintendent, going around the classroom, that you walk in every classroom, they were on an educational program, but that educational program could be translated to what we call pen and paper now. So that was a big push for us as a district.
Yeah. Okay. So I hear that you are going to do a mid-year update coming up. And I'm sure you have some feedback to share, though, that you've gotten from like students and teachers and parents. And I want to talk about that. Before we do, were teachers on board with this generally? Like, were most teachers, I know that you said there might be a difference between the younger teachers who learned about
Mhm.
teaching on tech. But generally, what was the vibe when this was revealed to teachers?
So when the resolution first came out, we had a few teachers that were, yeah, I'd consider your secondary teachers that were your veteran teachers that and they looked at it as a change. Who's going to move my cheese? And we were moving someone's cheese at this time. Um, and I think that was the fear that we were going to pull something away that they've become so accustomed to. And that wasn't the case. They still have that flexibility to do assessments, to do technology. But what we were lacking here, again, even in the secondary, that those organic conversations, similar to what we're having right now, is what's popping into our brains as we're talking. You miss that when you're on technology. And we saw it from a young age all the way up through our high school students. It wasn't happening when they were behind their computers
Yeah.
on their Chromebooks or their iPads. As a whole, I'd say 85% of our staff was completely bought into it. And we had a few, 15% of folks that were just kind of struggling a little bit, but it's not to the point where we were receiving any negative feedback from them. It was just, okay, something new is happening in my life again.
Yeah.
I remember I've been an educator in Burke County for 28 years. So we didn't have this technology when I was just as a beginning teacher. So I've seen it kind of merge all the way where we are today. And that's what a lot of people thought we're removing technology, but we're finding a balance back to where we were.
And the resolution, which I'm going to link to in the episode notes, it does a great job summarizing that research shows that handwriting and reading from paper materials enhances all
Absolutely.
the things you want: comprehension, memory retention, scores, test scores, which is important to you guys. It talks about how this excessive amount of screen time at school affects their eyes, their sleep, all of these physical aspects as well. And so that you guys are opting for a preference for traditional instructing methods that reduce dependence on technology. And I think that's all that parents are looking for is like, let's look at what's best for the kids. And it's definitely not being on screens for 6 hours a day. Like, that's not good.
No, and the emotional attachment that that I see my own children have with technology, what we're seeing at school, and then we're adding to that emotional attachment of technology when something we have to remove technology. When technology became popular and students had an iPod, that was a reward time for them to be able to
Yeah.
get on technology. Now it's a norm. So we need to go back to that reward and just try to reduce some of that emotional aspect, that emotional attachment.
Yeah. And there is attachment and dependence for these kids on the
hmm
devices. They're used to having it hours a day at school plus some time in a typical home. And so I wonder how that transition looked coming into this new school year for kids that were used to using it quite a bit more. Was that difficult for the teachers to sort of reapproach like our day? Because teachers and parents too, we may rely sometimes on that technology to like keep kids in line. Now it's like, are we gonna deal with chaos? Like, how's this gonna look? So how has that process been?
No, I think it goes back to our teachers. We want them to plan more engagement throughout the day. So rather than coming in and doing I remember vividly the COVID check-in, smiley face, sad face, frowny face, that they were just doing. Now our teachers have the opportunity to walk around. Why are we relying on technology when we can go and see our students face to face? It's not asking too much to walk around and check on 25 students while they're doing their warm up. When I was an educator, we did hands-on warm ups. We had maybe 5 math problems every day that we had to work out. That was my typical board exercise, my bell ringer, I called it.
Yeah.
And they're still doing that bell ringer. It just translated into something that they're reading from the board, working at their desk rather than flipping open a computer screen and working on it that way.
And when you were talking about the difference between kids, say, taking a test on a device versus the teacher looking at the physical handwriting of the student, grading it by hand. I assume I'm not a teacher, I'm not in education, but I assume that you're missing out on so much relationally and understanding what the student is grasping and not by not
Mhm.
actually seeing their work, right?
Right, absolutely. The flipping the letters backwards, the A's or the B's and D's, is a student missing that. So our younger grade teachers are focusing on that. And here again, I look at this as our baseline year. We'll have some baseline data. I suspect to see results. To do something with fidelity, you're looking at more than 5 years of research behind something before you can make a determination whether it works. We're not looking at this as a silver bullet. We're definitely looking at it as, okay, this is something that we're starting and we want to continue to massage it and see it grow.
Great. Okay. There are a lot of contracts between ed tech companies and school districts. And was there any pushback you received from the tech companies?
I would say no pushback at all. We're still utilizing some of those contracts because that's supplemental exercises that we can do with our students.
Okay.
It's an add-on. It's a bonus. Not just what we're doing in the classroom, but something they can be doing at home as well. I'm actually meeting with a representative from Scholastic over the next couple of weeks that she wants to hear more about what we're doing, so if they can go back and take that to their leadership team and incorporate that into what they're doing. So,
Wow.
and Scholastic is a global company
Yeah.
that we're working with. So just things like that. Okay, we have as Scholastic, they've pushed a lot of technology. So now let's go back and see what we want to put back as hands-on stuff. Manipulatives, most of our students, and I'm a hands-on learner. I've got to see things. I can't look at it on a computer.
Yeah, me too.
Even when I print emails, I print them, I read them, and I'll mark them up rather than sitting on a computer.
Yeah.
So it's just old school, I guess.
I wish you were our superintendent. But I bet that a global company like Scholastic is really paying attention to entire countries going low tech, like Sweden.
Hmm.
In Spain, the whole of Madrid is going back to textbook and away
Hmm.
from relying on digital tools. And so that really affects these global companies. And like, oh gosh,
Sure.
should we start printing those textbooks again? Because
Yeah.
maybe that's
And
better.
and I've never been a fan of the textbooks. It's a resource. So now that we have internet and we can pull our resources as a teacher, I
Mhm.
can still do all my prep work on technology, but that's still going to articulate into hands-on learning with my students. So I think there's a balance even with the tech corporations as well. Not just, okay, you've been to college every 3 or 4 years, they're writing a new edition for money for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's where the textbooks kind of we're starting. We don't receive enough state financial aid for textbooks. So we had to kind of pivot, figure out a cost effective way to still get our curriculum in.
Do you think there'll be a cost savings not sending the devices home with those younger kids? Because I've heard of some districts who spend $1 million a year, like repairing damaged devices.
100%. That was on my talking point as
Okay.
far as the device repair. So that's going to be in our update on. We spoke to our director of technology last week at our weekly leadership meeting, and to find out. So we're only through mid-October, so we don't have enough what we'd consider damages right now to
Mm.
where we're. I want to say we're around 11,500 students. Mid-sized district within North Carolina. If I'm not mistaken, I'd say around $400,000 in break rate last year. So and
Wow.
that's different types of repairs that we've had to do. Some of them are still under warranty, of course, but we do charge a $25 fee for the use of technology, and that just covers some of the replacement cost in case something does get broken.
Okay. So for K through 5 currently, they're not bringing it home?
Mm-mm. Yep.
Okay, that's
Not
awesome.
unless the parent
Love to hear that.
specifically requests it, and then of course we'll allow them. And as I mentioned earlier, before we began talking, we have certain platforms that we use to filter out even things that are at home. Once they're connected, if it's our device and it connects to an alternate internet service, it still runs through our Go Guardian, which captures some of those things that we don't want our students to see. Our Google, we have a platform with Google security as well that picks up certain words. If a student is typing in certain words, it'll flag it and send it to our director of student services. whether they're talking about certain images or an event or an occurrence. Same thing with GoGuardian. It'll flag that and send that straight to us.
That's great because, parents are worried about the substandard education through overuse of tech, but also kids are getting access to all kinds of things when they spend a lot of time with those devices. A ton of kids are seeing porn or showing porn to other kids at school. And these kids are so smart. They know how to download a VPN or something and get around all of it.
Oh, yeah, to block it.
Yeah. So I think that limiting the amount of time that the kids are with it really decreases their exposure to that bad content.
So when we were also one of the first districts in the state last year, we created the general legislator. They just enacted a law requiring every district to have a cell phone policy with parameters. So we did ours last year before it even became law. So we were an early adopter of that before we were even told. We saw the need for it with students just not engaged in the classroom, and then it still relates to technology at the end of the day.
Completely. And there's been 40-something states that have passed some kind of phone-free policy. The best being the bell-to-bell, like not allowing kids to have access to it at all is the best way, because even in between classes, I'm sure you know very specifically that the issues that it can cause when they have access to it during the day, lunch between classes as well.
And I just sent out a very heavily worded, I guess, a memo to our staff guarding that policy saying, guys, we can't enforce it unless you enforce it from bell to bell. We put this in place for you. We're not in your classrooms every day. You have to do that part of it. We'll back you up, but you have to do it.
And some schools that, are like, okay, this is not working, putting it on the teachers to enforce in the classroom. Some schools are literally putting them in magnetic pouches called yonder pouches, or collecting the phones at the front, when the kids walk in, which can be its own issue too, because kids are just putting dummy phones in there. And, there's no perfect solution here, right? But it's important to be thinking about the phones and then the extension of the issues around access to things on the school-issued devices too, and the ramifications of that. So it's so cool hearing that this has been implemented at your district, and I wonder now what you're hearing. Like, is any initial feedback from students or teachers or parents that you want to share today?
I look back at some of the resolution comments. It was one of the articles, and a lot of our parents and a lot of our teachers positive comments about, I'm glad to see that our district's going this way. And, and here again, there's no negativity from what I'm seeing is, oh, you're trying to pull technology away. No, we're balancing technology. We know technology is here to stay. We have degrees in technology. We're not trying to get rid of that. We've got to find that balance. And we're seeing a great conversations at the table amongst our parents, our community members, our elected officials. Same thing. It's just they're all speaking that same language.
That's so great to hear. And I'm assuming other districts have reached out to kind of talk to you about how it's going. I've sent the resolution to a lot of people that have reached out to me.
Yes.
Use as an example, right?
We've had several states reach out, and I want to say Ms. Beecher said another state or a country had reached out to her. I could be mistaken, but I've spoken to several of our other colleagues across the state, and they've asked me how we're doing it, and I've shared the resolution, and I preface it to say this is the baseline year. We're watching it right now, and next year we're going to have some baseline data, and then okay, where do we have to amp it up or pull back on certain things? So of course, the state, we understand the state is testing, and we're all for that, but there's more to education than just testing. It's teaching a child to be a child and a well-rounded human being, rather than just whether they can pass a test.
Yeah, and we are so deep in this. I mean, we really didn't go back from the tech during COVID. We didn't reset, and so this is going to be a long process. There's no quick fix to this, so it is going to be like a learning process. But what I love hearing here is that you're taking the lead as the district, and parents have peace of mind around that, because we are so worried that the school's not putting our kids first, that they're listening to the ed tech salesman and agreeing to contracts that the kids are going to be so engaged and the test scores will increase. And like, is that what's best for our kids? We need someone at the school that's on our side. And so I love that we have like a real concrete example of a resolution that we can send around. And I've been contacted by lawmakers in Oklahoma Oklahoma and Texas looking for examples like this so that the lawmakers can start to pass laws to guide schools and support parents here. So this is like a major shift, and you guys are definitely at the forefront of it.
Yeah. And like you said, there's the folks in the community saying, "Oh, it's just the flavor of the month." That was it. That's what our community wanted to hear, and that's not our philosophy as educators.
Okay.
We want to see what's working with our kids and what's going to make them more successful. And I'm a competitor, so I want to say I want to be better than everyone else. Not
Mhm.
I don't want to follow suit with people. I want people to follow me.
Okay, so for parents who want to bring up this with their school system, bring up this topic, as a superintendent, I just want to pick your brain a little bit with advice for parents. I have heard of a
Mhm.
lot of parents who end up kind of butting heads with their school superintendent, specifically even over screen time. And so, are you guys under pressure to adopt new tech tools? Is that something that is true?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. No, there's no, we're not under the thumb. I don't feel I'm under anyone's thumb on how I spend my money, who I spend my money with. That's completely what I feel it operates best within our district. That's what we're going to do.
Okay. I think parents can feel at odds with the ed tech companies and what our goals are. And,
Mhm.
there is a corporate influence on public education, and there are contracts, and the corporate influence on public education. Is that balanced with what parents feels is necessary for their kids' health and safety generally?
I would say across the state of North Carolina, absolutely. We follow a standard course of study that's developed by North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. So it's up to us to determine, okay, how do you want to deliver your fourth grade North Carolina history? Do I want it via textbook? Do I want Edtopia? Do I want someone else to deliver that model? And it's not, we look at it as that organization is delivering the model. We're hiring the best teachers to deliver that model. So we're looking at our teachers to deliver that model. The tech companies are supplementing. I don't look at that as a primary. Oh gosh, we've got to have the best number one tech company within the country representing Burke County Public Schools. I want to have the best teachers in Burke County Public Schools representing us, and then whatever they pull in as their pull out of their tool belt on a daily basis. That's what I want for us.
Mhm. I've heard of superintendents or school districts spending millions and millions of dollars on like a student facing AI tool, like one specific thing. And it's like seems very expensive, some of these tech tools. And I wonder through your learnings here, if there's the potential to cut out some of that tech, like that's unnecessary, and use that for human teachers, like more arts education, facility improvements, just things that support the children in different ways.
Yes, and no doubt. So yeah, I look at some of our subscriptions that we use. It might be a $30,000 subscription. It sounds like a lot, but when it's a subscription for 5,000 kids, you break that
Mhm.
down per child. That's not a whole lot of money. Or otherwise, if you recall, I know I remember as a classroom teacher, even as a student, having to bring dollars in and getting Newsweek or something that we had to pay for as a student, and we would get that once a week, and then our teacher would go over that. That doesn't happen. So we're doing that for our students. Like that's a part of I guess the whole package that we're delivering to our students.
Okay, so it sounds like this has been well received. There's not any negative feedback on it so far. It's definitely going to be a multi-year learning process to get maybe where you want to go with the balance of tech use and, analog learning. And we're on that path, and that's very exciting and hopeful. I wonder if you can just end with some advice for parents or even teachers who are concerned about this. What is the best way to make ourselves heard, especially because most districts are kind of firmly committed to the status quo, which is a lot of technology. So, like, what's the best way for parents or teachers to approach this?
Look at the research. Research doesn't lie. And you look at what our students could do prior to technology coming on board on we want them to be able to do again. Some of my biggest thing is the social skill, the social aspect of it, where they weren't engaging in a conversation as a 6, 7 year old. They're on their computers every morning. And that's the core of it right there is, hey, can I borrow that? Can I borrow that piece of paper, or let me play with that toy?
Mhm.
We've got to get back to that and be human beings to one another.
Yeah.
So I think the advice to there would be look at your research, go in and sit down and talk to people. I've got an open door policy in my district, like I said, 11,500 students, and our county as a whole, we've got 90,000 people. So I like to think at any time of the day they can pick up the phone and call me, and I'll be able to help accommodate some of their needs. I might not fix everything, but I'll be able to listen to them and talk to them and find out what they're upset about and how I might be able to make it better.
And who are other points of contact that parents should be thinking about reaching out to if they don't make headway with their superintendent?
So you've got of course, your legislators. We've got local legislators. You know, if they go that approach, it always looks like it's them against other people. I think the best way to do is try to build that relationship with that superintendent or the school board. We have people that our school board is very active and very supportive of what we're doing, and they're also very accessible. They oftentimes will get on social media and send somebody a message because they had a comment about something we're doing. A lot of school boards won't do that. It's not public, but it's just like, hey, what can I do to help you? I saw you posted something about you're upset at bus whatever that was late. Rather than posting it, let's get back to here again. We're getting back to that human factor. Pick up the phone and call me and let me help resolve that problem. Rather than getting on Facebook or whatever social media platform you are and complaining about it. If you remember the quote from Charles Barkley, social media is a place where losers get to go to complain.
I haven't heard that one, and I like
it.
it.
Don't quote me on that.
Okay. I'll fact check. Okay. And you mentioned research. And I think when you see the research laid out about online learning versus pen to paper learning, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear what the kids retain more of. And it's the paper learning and face-to-face learning. And so I have a side organization called Tech Safe Learning. And so at techsafelearning.org, we've organized a lot of that research. I will also say, to parents, maybe ask your schools for the research that the tech is better. Let's have a back and forth on, comparing research and really come to this conclusion together, because the research is the key. The distractions, all those things is loosey-goosey, and every school district does a better job, or some do a better job than others regarding that. But it's how kids learn, really understanding that and prioritizing that at our schools. That needs to be I think, top of mind.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be that balance. And that's what it's not removing technology from Burke County Public Schools. It's finding the balance within Burke County Public Schools.
Okay. Which is an incredible start. And I can't wait to see where you guys go and what you learn.
Yeah. I'm excited to.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys reaching out to us, and makes me happy to be able to share our story from Burke County's perspective.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Swan, so much for your time. I'm going to include in the episode notes the resolution, some media articles that have come out on that, a link to some research that parents and teachers in schools can pull from to support kind of a balanced environment around learning. And again,
and you're welcome to put my contact.
Yes. Okay. I was going to say, and you can reach out to Dr. Swan with questions too on how it's going over there. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.